What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 138 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today, of course, are Jackie and Allie. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Doing very
Excited
well.
for the episode?
Yep, definitely excited too. And welcoming back Noxious. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Just happy to be back. We were supposed to maybe hop on the show last week, but alas, was
Life.
busy, so I'm glad to be here.
Life happens.
Alas, life happened.
Exactly.
As it does.
Sneaks up
Come
on you
on.
sometimes, right?
Yep.
Well, you picked a good week to come back on, though. There's a ton to talk about today. But before we do, I want to mention that this episode of Value Town is sponsored by Power Bear. On top of, obviously, our patrons that support the show on patreon.com/ValueTown. So really excited. Get a chance to, maybe tell you a bit about Power Bear a little bit later. But, just to start off, big thanks to them for sponsoring this episode. Okay, so this week, man. So we've got obviously the patch coming out. So new meta out there on the ladder. It'd be definitely great to see what you guys have been playing and what you guys have been seeing. Then we've got HCT, and man, it seems like every year HCT's got a little drama associated with it. Got to talk about that, of course.
Yeah.
And then we've got Smilestone. So we've still met that milestone. Props to all the patrons for that. Topic of the week this week is going to be have to do with viewership of tournaments and maybe why they are the way or why the numbers are the way they are. And then lastly, we're going to do some Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and email those to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. Gosh, I'm like tongue twisted today. It's cool.
Tongue twisted, tongue tied.
Totally, yeah, tongue-tied. Exactly. I can't even say tongue-tied. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. What's going on?
So fried.
You're fine, you're fine.
Yeah. All right, but let's start off with what we've been doing this week. And I know Oktoberbrawl was obviously going full scale, at least ever since the last episode we had, because you guys actually had that face-off or the rivals or whatever, right, on Friday. So Allie and Jackie, how'd that go?
Grudge matches. Yeah,
grudge
they,
matches. That's right.
For Team Void, they went fantastically well. We won all of our games.
Surprise.
Yeah, might be partly due to the amount of packs we got, but from my perspective, it went great.
From my perspective, it was a lot of fun. I happened to DC in one of my matches, which is
The theme of today, guys. DC.
The theme of today, a bit of foreshadowing. Lost all power in my room, but no. They were all good fun. The grudge matches again on Friday. Don't forget. And yeah, unfortunately for me, Team Void, not much changed in the packs that we got today. So they got 14 packs today, and we got 6.
Again?
Yeah,
Same as last
again.
week. What's going on, man?
Same ratio, man.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's all right though. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, the DC didn't cost you, right? You ended up winning your match.
I actually won the game back that I was going to win. It was a good matchup. It was Mage versus Priest, and I was against Ties. Was going to win the game, DC'd, but then I won it again anyway. So not a big deal.
Okay. Jackie, you faced off against Ray, right?
Yeah. I think it was Reynard. I was trying to trash talk a little bit, make it interesting. Thankfully, managed to still pull through the win. Even though I lost.
I wonder if he took it seriously or not, or if he knew that you were just trying to
Nah, I mean,
better.
it's only like a casual event, really. So it's kind of the type of event where trash talking is acceptable.
encouraged, right? Or
Trash
not
talking should
encouraged, but
always
acceptable.
be acceptable. Like, we need more trash talking.
Even in like the BlizzCon finals.
Hey, man.
Maybe not.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know about the finals, but Purple is laying out some trash talk there at the end of the HCT. So a little color is always good. So, can't complain about that.
sure.
We don't have enough of that actually in our community. Okay, so Oktoberbrawl, clearly Team Void still has some kind of advantage, which I still think it's purely aesthetics because the card pack just looks cooler. But maybe it's just Jackie's
Might be true.
personality, man. It's like the Mr. Congeniality.
Mr. Congeniality. Wow,
Definitely.
Jackie, did you just
What a
get yourself
nickname.
the name?
Yeah. What a nickname.
So anyways, tune in. I said this Friday too, right? You guys are gonna have another
Yes.
grudge match, right? Okay,
Yep.
that's good. Do you guys know who you play?
I actually don't. I don't know who I'm playing.
It's gotta be
this
somebody
week.
different,
Yeah.
right? So one of
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah,
three.
so I'll be against
Maybe
either
we'll
you,
play,
Ollie.
Yeah, maybe we'll be
Oh,
playing
could
each
be.
other.
Oh man, that's gonna be rough. So I guess that's what it means is I'm gonna have to stick with Team Light for another week because I'm always gonna be rooting for that underdog. And boy, you guys are major underdogs right now. Still being 14-6. Jackie, you're at rank 9, right? With your account.
Yeah, I peaked at rank 9. I'm at rank 10 at the moment, but yeah, I've been trying pretty hard. But the higher you get, the harder it gets. That's for sure. When you have a limited collection, but it's fun. It's fun. I kind of enjoy the challenge of trying to make the most of not having many cards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about just this week. Given that the patch 9.1 came out, all the nerfs that we've gone over the last week or two are live now, and want to get a sense for what you guys have been seeing on the ladder. So, Noxious, what you been playing? What you been seeing?
So I haven't had time to play much Hearthstone since the patch hit, but I've been paying attention to what the meta was like, and I mean, since I played today, I faced off against Priest and Druid, so that was interesting. A little bit of Hunter too. So it's been, I want to say it's like more of the same on my end. I don't know how it is on everybody's end.
Yeah.
But the upside is that the decks that I played pre-patch only got better. I was running Silence Priest and I was running Temple Rogue, as well as some Control Hunter builds, and those just got stronger than they were prior. So, if anything, I'm just sticking to the same stuff. Like, there's no new decks that came up. Not at all. Like, there's actually nothing new. It's just a little bit of, shuffling around.
Yeah, given that
Not yet.
Yeah, well, given that they nerfed cards,
exactly.
Given that they nerfed cards, just the decks that existed, whether it was like tier 2 or tier 4, that didn't get affected, they just get upgraded, right? Or at least a lot of times they get upgraded. Maybe some of them don't, but that's not completely surprising. How about you, Allie? What have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Tempo Rogue as well, Asmodee's list, with the pirate package with the double South Sea deckhand and the pirate buffer guy. What's his name?
Captain?
Captain, yes, there you go. So I've been playing that, and then from my understanding, it's a lot of like Hunter, Priest, and Rogue. Played against some Hunters as well. Yeah, that's about it.
It's
but
so
I
funny
agree
about the Hunters, man, because I think the Hunters has a lot to do with HCT. Because they were talking about Hunters. Oh wow, Hunters are doing so great in this tournament, and then all of a sudden I just played a bunch of Hunters that Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
So it's funny. But yeah, the Tempo Rogue seems to be super popular right now. It seems like everybody's playing it.
I like it.
Yeah, we'll show it here in a second. Jackie, how about you though? Do you play some of that Tempo Rogue, or are you trying something different?
I haven't been playing Tempo Rogue yet. I've actually been playing a lot of Discard Warlock, like a very aggressive version, so like a Discard Zoo, and it's actually been going really well.
So surprised, honestly.
Really? Yeah. I mean, it's...
All right, let's take a look at these decks.
You don't really want to be good because Discard is such a dodgy mechanic, but I haven't really seen anyone playing it, so I tried it out, and it's actually good. Like, I really think it's actually a good deck. Okay,
so I'm going to show... okay, so I got Asmo's Rogue on the left there, and then I'm going to bring up Noxious's Rogue too, because he has got like this double prince. There's this Prince of Druid Air deck that he has here.
Don't diss the deck name.
No, I'm not. It's creative, man.
Creative.
It's creative. Yeah. I like it. So we got 2 rogues, and then we've got the disco lock here. So why don't we talk about the rogues first? Because this, I feel like, is spreading like a wildfire. We didn't see it that much, or maybe even at all. Maybe just a few people in HCT, but I think somebody mentioned it, just Asmo's version, and then everybody's just been going nuts. And people have been watching Asmo's stream too, obviously. So, what about it is so strong right now? I mean, it's definitely got an aggressive angle to it, given that it has Leroy and it's got Cold Bloods and all that good stuff. But what's so powerful about it, Allie?
I don't know. I mean, I like the prince. I think there have been multiple games where I've just coined out the prince on one, and then shadow stepped it and played it again. And like honestly, it just gives you a really sweet advantage. Like just having those extra stats on the minions. Like it's just a solid tempo deck, I think. I am a little curious to ask you, Noxious, about the 4-mana prince. Like, whoa. Has he been good? Because I've kind of liked Sherazin in the list, you know, so I haven't really, and Spellbreaker in this one, so I haven't tried out.
I've never been a fan of that prince either. Yeah, so how's he been working, Noxious?
Honestly, I've been getting more mileage out of it than I thought. The issue was really like there's no good 4-drop I really want to be playing. You mentioned Spellbreaker, you know, that's one of the few that you're half okay with, but then you're playing tempo, so not really. Like it's good to finish off a game and get through like a taunt that's stopping you. But usually that's not where you end up. So just having a solid 4-drop is good. And the thing is, unlike Sherazin, this prince doesn't leech any resources from you. Like you're never worried about whether it's going to get value. And a 4/4 happens to survive a little bit more consistently. And if you happen to hit Prince Keleseth before him, then that's a 5/5 with lifesteal. And the lifesteal is mostly it's sometimes relevant, but it's usually inconsequential. It's just a 4-mana 5/5 with taunt in a tempo deck is pretty absurd. Whereas a 6/4 Sherazin is just not as good if I were to compare both. So I think you're kind of capitalizing on the stat line more than anything else.
Okay. No, I can see what you're saying. It makes sense. I'll have to try it.
So I noticed that Asmo's deck only runs 1 Bone Mare, and you have 2. So I would think that you would have 2 in this deck, but is it just too fast to run 2?
Yeah, honestly, like I haven't really felt like I needed it, and this was his second version. He might have done a couple, but one of the earlier versions had the weapon in it, and I think another a plague scientist, and even at that point, he still only had 1 Bone Mare in it. So I haven't really felt the need for it, but obviously it's an incredible card. Like I think you'd be solid if you didn't have another card for this. You should absolutely put another Bone Mare in there.
Yeah, because that Bone Mare plus, say, South Sea Deckhand, right, with your dagger is...
Yeah,
that's so powerful. I mean, you have that at your available to you anytime you want, as long as you have those 2 cards. So that's pretty nasty.
It's kind of crazy because both these lists are very different. Like, to say that they're both kind of tempo rogue, they're both like really different.
Yeah.
Noxious, how's the Nerubian Unraveler been working out? I haven't seen that card at all.
Yeah, it's actually carrying the deck. I'm not gonna go that far to say that wow, this card is the best that's ever been printed. But it turns out that when you live in a world of people using removal, that's largely like most of the removal in the meta is kind of inefficient at the moment, aside from Priest who's sweeping boards and the occasional warrior who decides to go all and get a brawl. The upside is you can dodge Dragonfire Potion and consolidate a board with the Unraveler, so you dodge it, then they have to spend a turn dealing with it, so you don't die, and then by the time they can deal with it, oftentimes you've got a Shadowcaster on it, so you get another one, and then they can never cast any spells ever for the entire game. Druids can't Innervate, Druids can't Nourish, Druids can't Ultimate Infestation, and in that way I feel like the card is, like, it's much better than I gave it credit for, and when you follow it up with a Bone Mare, I mean, that's just the nail in the coffin for a lot of classes. Even Hunter, having to kill command for 5, that's just I mean, what the hell? No one wants to do that as Hunter.
Yeah, those of you that might have forgotten what Nerubian Unraveler is, it's a 6-mana 5/5 spells cost 2 more. So it's kind of like the poor man's
Lotheb.
Yeah, Lotheb. But like in a tempo deck, it makes sense. If you can buy yourself just 1 extra turn to put damage on your opponent's face, that's great in a tempo deck. So you've run 2 though, which is like, wow.
Yeah.
It's insane. But the thing is, it's not a tech card. Because if you play it as a tech card, it never works. Like, it's not a tech card because it just doesn't. It just doesn't tech. Like, you won't tech at 6. Like, a 6-cost card, if you're playing it to tech, you're useless. And you beat Exodia Mage with this. Yeah, exactly. That's the best reference. I was running Geist initially. I was running 1-1, and Geist was so worthless.
I know, Geist is completely hit or miss. Yeah.
This is bonkers just because, again, it's one of those cards that you wouldn't think about, like Unraveler working in a tempo deck, but if you start thinking about what it dodges, like I beat Exodia Mage, I beat Priest in the removal, barring end-to-end late game. You can beat the brawls in Warrior. You can
Yeah.
beat kill commands in Hunter. You can do so much with it. It's pretty insane.
I'm sure I mean, maybe a few times like Shattercaster did if they, couldn't answer it and just kept the annoyance up, so where they can't,
Oh man,
they can't really do
it's a
anything.
mage's
in their future
nightmare right
turns.
there, man.
Yeah, just keep playing the Unraveler.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool, and there's a lot of plays too. That's the thing about rogue decks. Like, there's always these amazing two card, powerful combo plays that you can make. And Allie mentioned one of them already, which was shadow stepping the prince and getting an extra +1 on everything. That's pretty sweet.
It's really good.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think about that originally, like right off the bat. Whenever they're thinking about Prince Kel'Thuzad, they're just like, oh yeah, you get that +1. It's like miscolor. It's no big deal. But what if you could miscolor twice?
Yeah.
Well, in such a cheap card, it's so
It's free,
easy to
right?
play.
When you
Yeah,
shadow step
exactly.
it, so.
Yeah.
I like that
I'd like to
innovation.
just pause on, you mentioned the miscolor. It's interesting to see how much Blizzard tests out mechanics with jank-ass costs.
Yeah.
If you just look at, what's her name, Princess, whatever,
Huron.
card. Yeah, I mean, it's like,
Huron?
all right,
Yeah.
let's print an unplayable costed effect and see if it's good. Because we're scared it might be good. Oh, it's garbage? All right, let's print it on a garbage minion. It's like, suddenly, and they do that all the time. And miscolor was like a Kel'Thuzad, I feel, scouting in a way.
Yeah.
How much did color cost again?
Six.
Six.
It was
Six?
a 4/4 too. So,
4/4, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But
So
I
bad.
kind of know what you mean though, Noxious.
They do that every
Yeah, I know what you
like,
mean.
we should honestly just look at crappy 6-drops. Every single expansion and be like, all right, what shit card currently being played?
Hey,
and now you can assume that 2
Dude,
expansions down the
I'm
line.
still looking for the 2-mana Hogger, man. When's that coming? Like, I've been waiting for 4 years for that thing, man.
Well, Moros, dude. Just spawns little dudes.
Moros, kind of. Yeah.
It's not anywhere near.
Sure.
Oh my god.
You got
okay.
spreading play.
You got
One
spreading
thing
play. Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about the list Ali's been playing is, do you guys think that hallucination fits in the deck?
Yes.
To me, it seems like there's no reason for it to be in there.
Shiraz,
I don't know.
it's
Shiraz
all pretty
is
much
it?
there for the seed, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's not much card draw on that deck either, so you need something, right?
And sometimes those discovers are clutch. I mean, obviously, you get wrecked like half the time, or they're useless, but
If you got Van Cleef in the deck too, it's like
yeah, the Edwin's in the deck.
it's a free
yeah.
4/4/6/6 for the most part. If you got hallucination.
Yeah.
but I-
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anything else? But a really cool deck. I've played it maybe like one time. I haven't gotten a chance to play it some more just because I was trying to do deck of the week and the host challenge this week, and I played some Death Rattle Priest too, which can show in a second. But let's talk about the Disco Lock that Jackie was playing here, and Firefly. I feel like I see Firefly in like every single deck now, whether it's elemental or not. So it's really interesting that you have Firefly in this one too.
I mean, this is one of those cards where like I had like one slot left, and I was like, oh, what's the card that I can just put in here? Oh, Firefly.
Yeah.
Draw a card. Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly.
Firefly's pretty good with like the discards as well, because you end up putting the Flame Elemental back in your hand, and that's a card you're pretty happy to discard anyway. So
Yeah.
Very true.
Food. Definitely.
yeah, I've actually been like crazy surprised. Howl Fiend as well.
was
It's
gonna
one of those
ask you
cards where
about Howl Fiend.
it looks terrible, but so many times what ends up happening is you have like Zavas in your hand, and then they just keep hitting the Howl Fiend, and you just get Zavas bigger and bigger and bigger again.
Oh my god!
Because at first
yeah.
you play the Howl Fiend, and they think, oh, that's a terrible card. I'll just make them discard their hand, and then you just have like Silverware Golem and Zavas, and you just win.
Yeah,
Basically.
and Howl Fiend, guys, is 3-mana, 3/6 demon. Whenever this minion takes damage, discard a random card. Which, yeah, on paper sounds god awful, right? Because you can discard 6 cards from your hand in theory.
Jeez.
But like you said, it actually builds up another character, which is pretty awesome.
War Ox is gone. What's gonna kill it? Like, what's gonna kill a 3-mana 3/6? Aside
Yeah,
from Shadow Word
it's very
Pain, it's
true.
like, what the hell? That card is ridiculous right now.
Dude, if you follow that with the Lakari Fellhound, I mean, you got a 3/8 behind that one.
Yeah, but you discard the Fellhound every time. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably true.
Issue.
Always Doomguard and Fellhound every time, right?
I like the optimism though. That was
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I'm surprised at how well this is working for you, Jackie. Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's been going great. I've been having like over a 60% win rate with it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Dang.
Have you tried the pirate package in the zoo deck?
I haven't, not in this list.
Okay,
No.
because the South Sea, like Keleseth, if you play it as Keleseth, right? Like if you go ahead and you go Keleseth with South Sea Captain patches, you can actually make some pretty nasty plays as well, even in zoo.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
You've got a lot
Halfine
of
fits
twos
right in
here,
there.
though. You've got a lot of
Yeah.
you got like
Right.
10 twos here, so you'd have to. I mean, obviously 4 of those would be probably pirates, or at least 3 of those would be pirates, and then
a bunch of 1-drops. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
I mean,
way to
if
build
you
it.
end up drawing patches, just discard it instead. It's so good.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who needs that guy?
Yeah, who knew Patches is just pure disco food. Who knew that? So good, so good. Okay, I ended up playing Death Rattle Priest. Nothing too crazy here, but it just reminded me just how annoying playing against. I got so annoyed at playing against Obsidian statue that I just decided to play Obsidian. I needed to find a deck that played Obsidian statue.
Wow.
at a decent-
Okay.
Yeah, so now I'm just trolling my opponents instead of them trolling me. So yeah,
It's a
nothing.
great card.
Yeah, nothing too crazy here. It's just I think that my favorite games are the ones against Jade, just because I have Embrace Darkness in here, and then Obsidian statues, how they kind of, interact with or contain Jade in a way, because you always end up removing at least one of the big guys, right? And hopefully it's the one that's brand new versus the one that ends up killing your Obsidian statue. But so been toying around with this. Still, I don't think it's like anything crazy innovative. I mean, trying some like Inner Fire, some Divine Spirit and stuff like that in here too. But for the most part, it's been pure Death Rattle. N'Zoth.
I'm surprised you haven't tried a Barnes, or have you tried Barnes?
I didn't try Barnes because I'm not running the Servitude one, the
Eternal Servitude.
yeah, Eternal Servitude. And you have to build it pretty differently. Like, yeah, I'd have to like drop a lot of the smaller minions. So this is meant to be at least somewhat of a mid-range deck, just to kind of curving out and things like that. But you pretty much play for the N'Zoth play. That's like the winning play there. And there's not much removal outside of Dragonfire Potion. So my way of doing that is just kind of keeping up just with curve. So it's just kind of curve stone in the very beginning. But yeah, Servitude, that one's a different one. That was obviously one where it's more of a big priest type of build. That's really, really fun too. But wanted to try the Death Rattle. I ran Quest once and it was just like, Amara just does nothing, man. I mean, it's like, it is one of the most underwhelming rewards. Even though you get 40 health, it's kind of like, okay. I mean, I just get an 8/8 out of it. It's it, It's like,
It's no Reno Jackson. You have to do so much to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it takes the card out of your mulligan, and I think that's where the pain really starts hitting. It's like
yeah.
your consistency in the early game is decreased for the sake of. I don't want to say an average minion, because 5-mana 8/8 with taunt would be played if it existed, but the fact that you have to lose a card draw for it is kind of rough.
There's not many decks that you play against where just going to 40 like wins you the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It literally is a Reno Jackson for reward, and that's not much these days. It's not that big a deal, right? So dropped the quest. Didn't really think that was that great, but anyways, it's kind of a fun deck. It interacts well or interesting against some of the control decks. Give it a try if you guys are looking for maybe a different priest deck. But okay, well, anyways, that's kind of our week. That at least playing Hearthstone, all that good stuff. One thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about last week, and it's mostly me just being a little remiss in not talking about it or skipping over it because it was actually in our notes, is that Ben explained the whole Naga Witch change, like in a forum post, and he was kind of explaining that the reason they did it, because the Naga Witch obviously has been a big point of discussion in the community, just because it's causing such crazy giant decks to be super viable and wild, and maybe some cases arena. But anyways, Ben explains his reasoning. It has to do with being consistent with things like Big Eye Scout and Upright Eye Scout, and I think the other card he mentioned was Second Rate Bruiser. But my question to you guys is, obviously consistency is really, really important, but is consistency worth like the kind of craziness that we're seeing with Naga Sea Witch in terms of these giants being played in a kind of crazy fashion, even though the stats say it's not too crazy? But my interaction with it is just with the host challenge. It's just been like, wow, this is insane. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obviously everyone's always like, oh, we want consistency. Consistency is great. We need consistency in the game. But this deck, like the Giants deck, it feels very much like, to me, it feels very much like how Quest Rogue felt before it got nerfed. It's kind of like,
that's good.
You either have the combo on 5 and win the game, or you don't have the combo and lose the game. That's kind of how it feels. And for the game to be over on turn 5, like it's just it seems bad.
I feel like consistency is important, but in this situation, I think they didn't have to do it. You know, like I think they could have gotten away with just kind of leaving it as is, because I think it's just caused more problems. Like everything was fine beforehand.
Was anybody complaining about this?
Yeah, like no one was really complaining.
Anybody complaining about the consistency? Like I don't think so.
I don't think
maybe
so.
Just those, very big sticklers that are, or maybe like a Disguised Toast made a video about it or something. But it wasn't a problem, at least gameplay wise.
No, so I think in this situation, it was unnecessary. But in the future, they can be consistent with future releases or whatever.
So Noxious, we're talking about Naga Sea Witch. And,
I understood the context just from the Giants turn 5 win. I just understood. It's like, there's no other card that does that.
Right. So, I have a feeling that eventually they will have to change something, at least with Naga Sea Witch, because it is a bit crazy. I mean, it's just a huge swing. It's got that whole Barnes type of feel, when you're playing a big deck or something, you just lose instantly. But it's more consistent than Barnes though, because you have a lot of different possible giants that you can get crazy discounts for. So I mean, it's amazing how cheap sea giants can be and how cheap mountain giants can be, and how cheap all 7 giants can be, except for the Clockwork Giant. The Clockwork Giant's the only one that was like a pain in my butt, but everything else is like super easy to get to. So eventually, I think they'll have to do it. It's good that Ben came out and explained to it. It's still an issue, and they'll probably have to do something eventually. That's just kind of a little thing I wanted to bring up there. But why don't we talk about the HCT? So HCT America happened this past weekend, and this is the last region to complete their summer season for HCT. And obviously a lot of people here in North America looking forward to the America one. And boy, there was a lot of drama, and I mean the community just rising up and like revolting. I haven't seen them like not revolting, but going a little crazy. I haven't seen them go crazy in like some months now. So it was a little surprising to me. I'm not sure why it was surprising, but it was a little surprising to me. So the whole thing that I think that spawned all this is just really the disconnections that happened, and had a few instances where there's like multiple anecdotes or stories from people like Amnesiac and somebody posted on Reddit. I think his name was RP Balance. Yeah, RP Balance. And there've been a few stories around, but the biggest one, since given that it was on a telecast, was that Luker in the quarterfinals ended up losing losing the series because it was 2-1. His opponent was up 2-1, and he was going handlock against Pirate Warrior. And clearly he was ahead, and being in handlock, we've all played handlock and against Warrior, and when you're in a certain position, you're going to win. It's like a very, very good chance you're going to win, and he was clearly in that position. Ended up DCing the regames, that typical situation. The Warrior drew perfectly, just curved perfectly, and just ran him over. Yeah, so he ended up losing because of that. So that obviously was a very nightmare scenario for Blizzard and just the tournament itself. And then, of course, Luker, too. I mean, Luker's obviously super disappointed. It's a quarterfinal match, so he doesn't get to go to the season finals either because, only the top 4 go. So all that happened. A lot of people were talking about it. Blizzard made a statement about it, just saying that, it's not acceptable. We're going to do some things in 2018 to prevent that, just kind of summing it up real quickly. But before we get into that, we want to definitely discuss all that. I do want to say congratulations to Purple, as well as Empanizado, now Guidan, and Yay Tears for making it through. Purple winning the whole thing, too. But the matches themselves, at least just talking about, just the meta and that sort of thing. Anything that kind of stick out to you guys that you thought was pretty cool about HCT America?
Monsanto's lineup.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was the thing everybody was looking forward to, right? Like, how did it end up doing? I didn't actually catch his matches.
How'd that go?
Yeah.
I think he dropped before he made the cut to the higher rounds, but he was farming people in the early stages.
Oh, was he? Okay.
He was doing well until somewhere like near the half point.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
I admire his deck choices, though. They were
yeah,
They
Jackie.
were awesome.
They were awesome, right?
Yeah, there's no other word than like a jungle, like. I mean, it's
Pretty
Quest
good.
Druid.
Druid's good, man.
I was rooting
Druid.
for him because
Quest
of
Rogue.
that, honestly.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen
Quest
Quest
Rogue I
Druid in a
still
tournament
get.
before? I don't think I have.
I have seen it since it came back. I mean, you can still beat, you can beat the slower decks with it. So you had decent matchups across the board. It's just, man,
Yeah.
the fact that he brought, I think Quest Rogue looked really weird because you saw Quest Druid with it. You're thinking, oh my god, is he just bringing a Quest lineup? It's the full context that lends this whole picture an era of it's surreal. Basically, it was surreal.
That would have been awesome. He won with a 4 quest deck. That would be so beautiful.
Dude.
But yeah, so Monsanto obviously didn't quite make it through. I think Yatier's and Nalguidon's their hunter and just the runs that they made with their hunter deck, because it was at one point I think it was undefeated at just the hunter deck itself. Yeah, it was actually the hunter did extremely well this weekend.
What did the deck look like? Was it like Hydras and
Mm-hmm.
or was it just like extremely fast? Wow.
Hydra builds.
Yep, Hydra build. I mean, it wasn't like crazy fast, but there's definitely Hydras in it. Some had rocks in it, nesting rocks. Some didn't. So there are different builds of it, but for the most part, just that kind of tempo hunter or mid-range hunter speed was good enough to beat a lot of these decks. So
solid.
Yeah, it was cool. Got a chance to see some, some custom beasts too, which was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Rexar's great.
Yeah, Rexar is definitely great. So I felt like that was maybe the story of the meta, at least in this event, was just that Hunter really popped up and did very, very well. Unlike the previous one, which was like the Priest was just destroying, right? And this one, the Priest obviously was played a lot, and it was just like one of those foundational ones, but it wasn't nearly as crazy impactful as it was the previous HCT. So anyways, Purple ended up winning. Purple went 10-0 too. So he just dominated in Muzzy fashion.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, it wasn't even close too. Like, he won series. I think the closest it was like a 3-1. I think, or maybe he had a 3-2, but it was pretty easy. At least most of the matches I saw that he won towards the end too. So Purple, I think a lot of us know Purple, right? So he's one of those players that is under the radar, I would say, for most of the like general community, but in the playing community, everybody knows Purple, and that he's a good player.
Yeah, he kind of is hidden for a little bit, and then he'll like pop up and like wins a big tournament out of nowhere. Like, and he's a really good player, and he's a really nice guy as well.
Yeah.
Like Purple a lot.
It's interesting because I was talking the prior week. We were at DreamHack, and we were discussing players in general, and people who we thought were currently underrated. And the first one that came to mind, I said, I think Purple's got to be the single most underrated player in the scene at the moment. And next thing you know,
good call, man.
just as HCT
Next
America.
thing you know.
So that was interesting. I'm not surprised at the kind of the talent, but he played in typical Purple fashion, which means I know my decks.
Mm-hmm.
I know the plays that I have to make, and I'm going to do it very quickly because I don't have to think too long on most of those. And so,
yep.
if you
What
ever
was his
watch him
lineup?
stream, pretty much the same thing as everybody else brought, I think, for the top.
I have to see his lineup again. Gosh.
Probably Highlander Priest and
Definitely
Yeah, I
Highlander
mean,
Priest.
Obviously, you almost can. Yeah, you almost
you can bank on that.
Yeah, I don't have his lineup in front of me, but
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, basically. It wasn't.
Nothing.
Well, there was a lot of Gogolaka crawlers. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
Like, he
yeah,
basically
yeah. He
said,
had a
"I'm gonna
double
kill all the
Gogolaka crawler.
pirates."
Yep.
He basically aimed to farm pirate decks. Like any deck that ran pirates was gonna get completely shut down. With the
Wow.
biggest tempo swing card in the meta, basically, is the way that he looked at it. So
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly because, like I said, like a lot of his matches were just rollovers, or he was just rolling people because of he would land a Galaka crawler. He'd land 2 Galaka crawlers in some matchups. It was pretty disgusting, actually. So,
the one thing though that didn't work out for him was maybe the hand lock that he built. It was kind of, I mean, the results just weren't there to justify bringing the deck, but at the end of the day, he still ended up making it through. So
Yeah.
there was no punish were there to be one.
well, he plays it.
I've got the list in front of me now, actually. So yeah, it was just Jade Druid, Murloc Paladin, Priest, and then the Warlock.
But that's the hand lock. That's the thing, right? Like he wanted to bring. I think initially we talked about that. I think, and he said he wanted to bring Aggro Warrior,
Yeah.
Pirate Warrior.
Right.
He just
And then
countered it
he ended up-
instead. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it definitely worked great for him. It's good to see him do well in ACT too. Like you guys said, he kind of pops out of nowhere, or Jackie was saying. It's mostly because he just gets motivated sometimes. Like when a cool expansion comes out, and he'll be playing the hell out of it. And then I think he burns out like really, really quickly, and then he just takes a long break. And then all of a sudden he's back, and
Winning everything.
Yeah,
wins.
It's funny, yeah. But if you ever get a chance to talk to Purple, he's like, you might not be able to tell because that interview was very, very arrogant.
It was so good though.
But Purple's a really, really great guy, and he's especially one of my favorite people to talk about the game too, because he's got a very, very great perspective. He's a very good deck builder too, and he's just one of those guys that just his knowledge is really, really good.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that interview too, because I feel like it exploded.
People
because he
freaked
started
out
playing-
about it. It's just it's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, let's talk about it. Like, what do you think, Noxious?
I mean, I think one of the because he basically what he did at the end was sort of give his take on his opponent's plays and calling them bad on some respect, in some respect, and so he was very
In
let's
some
say
respect, he
brash. He was very brash about it. But the thing is, and people started saying, "Well, okay, that's very arrogant of him. He's a dick. Why did they ever allow him to be on camera? What an asshole! Sportsmanship, yada yada." Which, I get that. I could get the frustration of seeing that kind of behavior maybe crop up in your game, but he identified that there were bad plays that came up and simply spoke about them, but he called the player bad instead of the play.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's the thing. I think being blunt about the plays and that type of thing is like perfectly acceptable and actually a good thing. But when you actually call the other player bad, I think that's a bit.
Yeah, let's clarify the context here. Basically,
Sure.
what happened was during one match, Purple obviously was running the double Galaka. I think it was his Paladin in particular, and who he was playing, it was it Yateers? I think it was.
No,
Yate.
it was his
Guidon?
opponent in the finals, Nalguidon.
Now Guidon, yeah, he was playing now Guidon, and at one point now Guidon, he knows he plays double. He knows Purple plays double Galaka crawler.
Yep.
And he had a choice of whether to play the Corsair or not. And just like your typical play, right, with it on turn one, and so he decided to do it. And the narrative of the cast between Raven and Sottle was just like whether that was the right play or not. Like he knows he has 2 Galaka crawlers. Like, do you risk doing that or not? So it was kind of set up that way, and then of course that narrative led to a question in the winners interview that was basically, was he supposed to play that? And then Purple was like, no, of course he wasn't supposed to play that. Did he play that? And then that's where it led to like, oh, he's terrible if he played that. That's
Yeah,
what it
like,
led down
that's
to.
a bad
Word
play.
vomit or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, the words that came out of the mouth of this, especially if it was like written or something. If you read it, of course, it sounds really, really terrible. But I mean, he's kind of the questioning was kind of set up to create that moment. But regardless, it's okay to have a heel in this community. If Purple doesn't have a problem kind of being that brash young savage, that's completely fine, right?
It apparently wasn't about playing it. It was about keeping it in the mulligan or not.
Oh,
Exactly.
is it?
Why keep the
Oh,
blood?
yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, it was about the mulligan. You're right. You're right.
It's like, why would you keep a pirate when I'm gonna keep my Galakas?
Yeah, that's
in
what
this
it was.
case,
It
I
was the
have 2
mulligan.
and you have
Yeah.
2, so let's why gamble when you're gonna be the unfavored at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think overall it's great for Purple. Can't wait to see him in the championships that are coming up soon. But what it does mean for Amnesiac, I don't think Amnesiac even makes the HCT Blast or anything.
I don't think so.
So I think he's just completely out this year, which is
Yeah.
kind of a bummer for all you Amnesiac fans out there. But let's talk about just the disconnects, just that whole incident, because that was really the big uproar with the community, is just the disconnects, and it's still happening, and and I think some of the venues had questionable internet too, which it's funny because like Noxious, especially me and you, right? We talked about like back in the Buffalo Wild Wings and all that. So remember all that in the spring?
But that goes way. That doesn't go that far back, right? Like that's still rather close to
it's
now.
It's this year, right?
Yeah.
And but that whole event went fine. I mean, like we questioned it because of Buffalo Wild Wings, but in the end, like I think all the venues had good internet.
No, some people complain like noise, scheduling, close the venue before the end because the restaurants had to close. People didn't know exactly what the guys were doing because they came there to play games, and some of the staff just wasn't completely, aware of what the hell was going on. So there was confusion there. But it's like it's not the first time that there are issues at a venue. But for some reason, this time the uproar is bigger than ever. Which points to something else being the issue. From my perspective, it just tells you that there's something deeper there than just, Hearthstone's competitive scene is not getting taken seriously. It's like, no, that's always been the case. Not that it's not been taken seriously, but that there's been infrastructure issues. Like that's not the first time nor the last. And why is the uproar so massive now? Right?
Yeah.
How much discontent is there outside of that?
Right.
Is pretty much what you have to look at.
It seemed to spike up a lot more this time.
I think it was the laptop that Blizzard provided to Lucre, not necessarily the connection issue in that particular case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was more the hardware.
Okay, I mean, if Blizzard provided that equipment, then it should have been up to should have been up to par.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter why, right?
No, it's.
Yeah, so I think that it's really important to look at it from two standpoints here. It's like you either approach it from the standpoint of, you provide some kind of solution that's more catch-all, which in this particular case is restart from replay, right? Like it doesn't matter when you restart the match. It just matters that you can restart the match in the state that it was before, right? Or you try and like provide, try to basically make sure that every instance of these venues is completely robust, right? Like it's going to be like great equipment, like internet's going to be great, and all that stuff. It doesn't sound like they're going to go on site, like send a Blizzard person on every single site and make sure these things are like completely up to standards or whatever. So it just sounds like they have to have a replay from restart. Like they must have that if they're going to have a competitive, like some kind of competitive HCT, and they still haven't done that. That's which I think that is the root of why, a lot of the community is just like in upwards about it. Jackie, what do you think?
I mean, it should be both, really. Like it should be, you should be able to go to a location, play in the tournament, and the internet should be top notch. There should not be a problem, especially when if there is a problem, there's not a good solution to it. Like like you were saying, if there is a good solution, such as a replay feature, then it's not so bad, and there's not someone's not going to lose out in particular because you can just kind of restart from where you left off. But surely some kind of replay feature shouldn't be that difficult to create. Like, is it really that hard to create?
I don't know, man. The logs already exist. Like the games are getting tracked right now. Like Hearthstone keeps logs of the actions and the order in which they happen. Like that's already a text file that's getting output.
That's true.
On the computer. So that exists. Yeah. It's not like the game does, well, or at least it's not like you can't know what was going on. You could technically from scratch in an external software just recreate the entire game. You could.
That's what HS Replays is. HS Replays is exactly that.
So it's not like it's not there, the info. It's just what do you do with it? And it turns out the answer right now is nothing.
Yeah, like you said, the movement scripts are there, right? Or just like the play scripts are there. So it's just a matter of the client, them having to put into the client a way for it to start in in that state that it reads from the log file. And right now, it like maybe leads back to the whole UI issue. Like it's just we don't know where to put in the UI, or I don't know, something like that. They've clearly, I mean, they've mentioned here and there, right? They've been working on replay, or it's definitely in their pipeline. But, I just think that if you really are committed to HCT, then, there needs to be a lot of more put into it. Like there needs to be a separate team that just works on these kind of features. That's nothing to do with balance, like nothing to do with, a PvE or any of that stuff. It's purely to do with tools and, that element of the client itself. Right now, I feel like they don't have that many people that don't work on the cards themselves or the actual adventure modes, and things like that. So, they seem to have a lot of staff. It'd be nice if they hired, some more people that could work on things like that. It's just going to keep happening. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't going to go away. I mean, you could go and make the internet better. You could actually go and get inspectors and have the internet be perfect and have computers perfect, but it's still possible. Afterwards. Yeah, that venue could lose power for whatever reason, and you can't do anything about that. And then it just creates the same scenario again. We're just lucky it hasn't happened on the BlizzCon finals, like in the finals. I've been
waiting for that for 2 years though.
You've been waiting for it.
I've been honestly waiting for it. Every single BlizzCon, I'm like, I hope this crashes big time when it matters the most, so that they instantly have to work on it.
Instantly, man.
Instantly. But it's cynical, and honestly, like if anybody at Blizzard is hearing this, I'm not truly hoping for the entire event to crash, but I think it would be a good wake-up call, because the thing is, like, most of the people who work, and that's interesting, right? Like most of the people who work in esports, if you talk to them, they'll tell you, yeah, like we'd love that, like that'd be fucking great. But guess what? We can't make that call. We can put in the request, but we can't decide to allocate developer time there. So it has to come from another layer of decision making, and that's just not.
Well, maybe it's the esports team. Like maybe it's not the actual Hearthstone team. Maybe the esport division, has the budget to hire like engineers for the team. Because I kind of get the decision between like this kind of feature. It doesn't seem to help the casual players, right? That doesn't help the majority of the demographics that we make money from. So it's like, how do we prioritize that, based on that, right? So this is more of a marketing
I'd say it's more in the esports division than it is.
It probably is. So if they need to find budget, I think, to allow for that. As weird as it sounds, that could at least be more of a workaround, maybe for them to be able to do that. But yeah, no question, it needs to be fixed. I mean, it's good that Blizzard came out with this statement here. Let me just show you the statement that they came out with. I mean, it doesn't say that much, to be honest. I mean, but it is good that they come out and say it. It's better than like just sitting quiet and saying nothing about it. So apparently there were some DDoS attacks too, like just at some of the venues too.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if that's true, but the truth of it is, like, everybody was leeching internet off Wi-Fi, so maybe, but that could have just been overload on the Wi-Fi network.
Yeah,
but there's the point is there's a billion ways internet goes down and goes wrong. So you need a fail-safe somehow, regardless of the reason why in this particular case things went wrong.
Yeah, I mean, were they at the same venues as they were like the last two seasons? Because I haven't really kept track.
For some of them, yes, I think.
Okay, I haven't kept track of the venues ever since the first, like the spring one, with the Buffalo Wild Wings and everything, or the winter one. I think it was the winter one. So that's okay. That's too bad. I mean, because these places probably do have experience. It just, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out this time. Well, hopefully they work on it, and like they need to, especially if they want HCT to become something more than it is. But we'll talk some more about HCT in just a second here. But before we do, I want to mention again that Value Town is sponsored today by PowerBear. And PowerBear, for those of you that are wondering, is a company that sells phone accessories, particularly things like battery cases and USB chargers and things like that. Yeah, so they sent the three of us a case recently, and man, this is awesome because I've been carrying around one of those backup batteries with me because I play Hearthstone on my
Way more
phone.
convenient
Right.
than one of those.
I know, right? And so
Yeah.
this is like so much better than having to carry an extra one, and obviously with a USB cable too, like a charger in my pocket. I literally have this cable like running across. I look like such a nerd, man. But so this is really, really nice for that. And they sell all kinds of other accessories too, but they sell chargers or these charging cases for all kinds of phones. I think the three of us have different phones. Like Jackie, you have an Android phone, right?
Yeah, I got a Samsung S6.
Yeah, and I've got an iPhone 6, and Allie's got an iPhone 7 Plus, right?
Yeah,
So-
7+.
Yeah, lots of different kinds. And the thing is, it doubles. I think it has got 7,200 mAh for at least the one I have. So it's equivalent to, I think, between 2 and 3 charges, like of your phone, just completely. So
Yeah, that's
definitely, yeah, it's actually really, really nice. So if you're one of those people like myself, or maybe these guys too, that literally Hearthstone drains your battery in
It drains.
like an
Just
hour and a half,
drains.
something like that.
Yeah.
I play Summoner's Ward too, so it's like both of those together. It's just like, dude, hour, it's just freaking gone, man.
Yeah.
It's like I have to it's not hour, maybe it's like 2 hours or 3 hours or something. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's really, really big.
phone battery is such a nightmare. Like I swear, like mobile phone batteries should last so much longer than they do. Like it almost seems like you need some kind of extension or extra power. Like I used to have a USB one, and I would carry my phone in my front pocket, and then a wire going around my waist to the the thing in my back pocket.
Exactly.
And
That's what I do, yeah.
yeah, and then they sent us this, and I went away this weekend, and this is just so much better. Like I was on the train, like, oh yeah, wait, I've already got the case on. Bam, let's just push the button at the back, and it just charges back up again. It's great.
Yeah. You can pop it in too. You pop it in immediately too. It just slips right into this pack, and instantly, you can start charging it. So you can definitely get one. Well, go ahead, Allie. You were gonna say something.
And I was just gonna say, and to touch on with the Hearthstone little part, really good for fireside gatherings. Like if you want to bring your phone as your device, like this thing, it rocks for those. So
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys. So I've hosted a bunch of firesides, and power outlets are not easy to find at
No,
these
they're
places.
not. You gotta fight for it.
I know, it's so funny because like when you first start a fireside, everybody's like in the middle of the room, like everybody's all like matched up in the middle, and then as the fireside goes on, everybody ends up on the outer ridges.
On the outer ridge, yeah,
rooms
exactly.
because they have to get to the power.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny, man. Because I have mine at Buffalo Wild Wings. That's kind of how it's set up. But anyways, yeah, these Power Bear chargers are awesome, or battery chargers or cases are awesome. You can get them at gopowerbear.com/valuetown, and it'll take you to a page where you can click on just the storefronts. I think there's a link that takes you to the Amazon storefront, and you can get 15% off right now. Which is really, really great because the prices actually for the Power Bear cases are great too. So 15% on top of that. And they also have some giveaways available on that page too, that again, the gopowerbear.com/valuetown, where they're giving away some packs as well as some battery cases. Check that out. Give them a nice word, or give them some business too, because it definitely helps out with them wanting to sponsor the show too. So another thing too is that, of course, the show is sponsored by our patrons